Tabby.
And I'm Caitlin, and today we are going to be covering the final two novellas in the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey.
God rest her soul.
These books, they will keep her memory alive for years to come because they're pretty lit.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I rated this one way higher than the last three. So for the last two, I gave it an 8.3 out of 10. We still did see like a little bit of that redundancy, still some like the same editing stuff, but we really got to like the nitty-gritty of the
Yeah.
plot this time, and it was really good.
It was a moving. Yeah, like I would rate these an 8 out of 10 because for me, like the ending just like the payoff was really worth it, and like everything was just moving from chapter to chapter. Like there were no boring parts in the last couple books, so I really liked it.
No, and it's really hard to have like boring parts in like a book this short, I think.
That's true. I mean that really works to her advantage.
Yeah.
Like everything about these books is like interesting and valuable to the story. There is, like we mentioned, a little bit of redundancy every once in a while, but I mean, again, I just think that's from like not having an editor to kind of go over her work. But
Right.
other than that, it's great.
So there are some very similar characters from the last novella. So we do still have Lana, Logan, Jake, and Hadley. But this book actually did introduce quite a few extra characters that played a very, very big role in the plot itself. So we'll be talking about them as well. So with Lana, our main female character, she is still, doing her absolute best, still a boss babe. However, I feel like we do get to see quite a bit of character growth from her. In the remaining two, we finally figure out, what exactly happened that night with her brother, and it's absolutely horrific. And it, again, kind of lends itself to why she's the way that she is.
One thing that I thought was like really wholesome, I guess, compared to some of the the things about her. I would say it's wholesome. But at the end of these books, she was finally willing to let Logan go because she didn't want to like have him give up the thing that was so important to him, his career, and was willing to step away so that he didn't have to
Yeah.
choose. And I think that was really hard for her because Logan was like one of like aside from Jake, he was really the only thing that was keeping her going.
Yeah.
Um
Because even Jake was like, yeah, I had to like spread these kills out so she didn't like off herself. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh God.
And really at the end she was like pretty ready to give up. Like if Jake hadn't come in and like saved her at the end.
That is honestly what made me so sad in the very last book when she was like, I didn't realize like how much I didn't want to die. And I was like, oh man.
For sure. So honestly, that was really, I feel like a lot of like it showed a lot of growth, the fact that she was willing to let Logan go.
And like I thought that was nice too, because like in the first three books, something I didn't really care for was that like they became so like dependent on each other.
It's
And
honestly
so
weird
it was
because
like weird
they
how dependent they were.
did not date for that long. And I know it's because the books are so short, but like my goodness, that was not enough time for that,
But I
you
mean, she
know?
was basically like, he's what's keeping me going after I lose myself in each kill. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what were you doing before this?
Yeah, because you've only been seeing him for like 3 months, girly. So
And so I like that there was that growth where she's like, I feel like, I can let him go and like I might not be fine, but like I'll be okay.
yeah, I think that really helped make her character a little more relatable.
However, I don't think Logan at any point in time was fine. He was never ready to let her go. He did not experience the same growth in that way.
No, he actually like I
He
guess
was
you could
down
argue that
bad.
his character did kind of regress, but I
Yes.
don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing. Like, I mean,
I think
technically it is in real life,
he
but like for the
just
book.
realized that like not everything is black and white.
hmm The good guys aren't necessarily good and the bad guys aren't necessarily bad. And his worldview was just kind of flipped on its head. I did have a love-hate relationship with him
Yeah.
in the last like book. I think that because I am going to talk like about like one scene in particular where his behavior was very questionable.
It was vile,
Um, it was vile, but
but it
I
was funny.
I have something to add to it though. We'll get to that. But he is down bad.
Like
Like
disgustingly in love with her.
it's so wild because again, they have not dated for a long time. But I guess when you meet your soulmate, you just feel it. And he just knew she was the one.
And I love that for them.
Mhm.
Jake also, I think, had some good development with his character. I don't even know if it was necessarily development. I think I just fell in love with him a little bit more because, like, I once they were back in Delaney Grove, obviously it did stir up quite a few bad memories, and they got to see the people that they had left behind for so long, for 10 years. And he really did step more into like that big brother role, but also like a friend. Like he was there to like guide Lana and definitely gave her direction, but at the end of the day, he let her do what she thought was necessary.
You wanna know what one of my, I just thought of this when you were like he was there for her. One of my favorite parts is when Lana's like, I think she's like worried that she's going to retaliate against the sheriff or something. And she calls him, she's like, talk me down right now. And he's like,
Yes,
did you know that ducks have corkscrew penises? And she was like, I didn't, thank you.
that is perfect. No,
He
and like
understood the assignment.
he's just like so freaking smart. It's like Lana is like her own person. She's intelligent for sure, but he is like the mastermind behind all
Oh
of
yeah.
this. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I love that.
I
Like
love the whole phase at the end. Like they had 10 phases that they got
phase
through, and
eight.
like they've been
Yes.
planning this for 10 years.
Oh, the ending was so
It
gratifying.
was amazing.
I also love Hadley in these books. Something funny about Hadley is like she has literally told them repeatedly, like they always like say she's a lesbian. She's like, no, actually, I'm bisexual, but they like
Like, no, like
refuse
I thought you like girls.
to believe it. It's so wild, but like she is like, no, like I've literally told you. But also it's amazing at the end whenever Logan's like I have to find Lana, she's alive. She's like, yeah, I will create new identities for us and we're out of here.
She's
Okay.
like, say less. I will need like 2 hours and I'll go ahead and pack up my things.
Yeah, she's like, give me just like a little bit of time
You
and
know what
we'll be there.
else just absolutely cracked me up was when they finally got to Greece and she's like, hey, really good to see you, but like, what the fuck is wrong with your cat?
Oh my God, yes. She is the comedic relief so often, and
She's
I
like,
love
where
her.
is this cat's hair at? I
Make
don't want
fun.
to take away from this moment, but what the fuck?
Yeah, I love
Leonard. I
Leonard.
thought Leonard was just like the best character that they could have introduced in this book.
Yeah.
First of all, he knew what was up from the beginning. He was like, you know what? I don't think this person is necessarily bad. And
Yeah.
Leonard, you're compromised. And he was like, I mean, maybe, but
What was really amazing is like whenever he first starts to suspect Lana and he's like looking at her funny in the kitchen, like you can tell like he is fighting with himself. And then they didn't know she had a partner yet, I don't think. So at one point they're like, oh my God, it can't be Lana. Or he realizes that because Jake had done something when Lana had an alibi. So he's like, oh wow, silly me. Like, how could I even think that? But like it turns out he was spot on. And I just like love that he was like questioning it so much because Lana has really created this persona.
airtight. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, she even says that she's super in shape, but she like eats an excess of calories so that she's not like super ripped. And so she keeps like a small layer of like fat on top of all her muscle. And it's like the fact
She's
that she's
so
thought
smart.
of everything, it's just like
Well,
amazing.
and that's like the whole thing is that they like at the end, they're like, yeah, we've actually been like 10 steps ahead. Like, we know exactly how this is going to play out in every single scenario
Yeah.
because it's like they have spent so much time like watching the behaviors and like how these people work. And like, I mean, people obviously are super predictable and like they kind
Yeah.
of hoped for that, but
Yeah,
I
they've
don't
had
know.
a decade to stew over this too. So they're also just like, you know, like they've gone through all the stages of grief at this point. They're not doing anything rash. Like they are calculated at this point. So it pays off in the end.
There were some real bitches of characters in this book that I like. I mean, we have to talk about them because they were important, but
Mhm.
I hated them. So the sheriff and his son Kyle are horrible. Those
Yeah.
little pricks. But like the sheriff, like I don't even know why people were so scared of him because it's like the second that Lana like comes in and like gets all up in his face, he just cries.
Yeah. He
He
does.
just starts crying.
I don't know how he came to like be so powerful in the first place. Um, it's interesting
I
for sure.
like literally for 2 seconds felt bad for Kyle because like no one knew he existed. But then I'm like, oh no, you're actually just like an absolute sociopath.
Yeah, like he went off the deep end at an early age. Like he
Yeah.
tortured animals as a kid.
No,
And
yeah, like he has serial killer tendencies.
yeah, hate that character.
And it's like his father knew that too, and he's just like, oh, that's just
He's like,
Kyle.
well, I've already lost my daughter. I can't lose him now.
He's like, he's definitely not the favorite, but he'll do.
Yeah, he's like, I guess if this is what I'm left with.
Yeah, I hope they rot in hell. Lisa, I hated Lisa. She was
Lisa is the
the
worst.
worst character.
I wanted like a final like scene for them to put her in her place, but it didn't really come. But what I loved was the time that Lana spit gum into her hair because Hadley was like, "Listen, you can't hurt her," and she was like, "I won't," and then she just
Yeah,
spits gum at her.
I really thought there'd be at least one more like scene with that, or like maybe she'd somehow be involved in all of this, and I really desperately hope she had been, so like
Yeah, I
she could
wanted her to be
exact revenge
evil.
on her too.
Yeah.
But no,
Turns
she's just
out,
a mean girl.
yeah, she's just a bitch. And then lastly, Christopher Denver. So I
Biggest plot twist.
Yes, I was talking to Tabby before we started recording, and like I was trying to figure out who the original killer was the entire time. At one point, I thought it was Agent Johnson. At another point, I thought maybe it was the director of the FBI that also was like covering it up. Um, and there was like a brief, fleeting moment that I was like, maybe it's Jake's dad, but I was like, I don't really understand what the motive would be. And it's because like the motive wasn't revealed to us yet, but it was a really good like wrap up, like
Yeah.
it really tied everything together when Logan figured it all out.
Because
And
then
like,
we get to see like Octavia again and like
yes,
no, that's not what her name was.
Olivia.
Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia. And like the parasite thing,
That
dude,
was so wild.
I love
Because
it.
it's like he definitely was sus the first time they like talked to him, right? Like he was
Mhm.
definitely being super freaking strange. And it's like
Yeah.
I knew there was something with him, but I didn't think he was the killer.
I didn't think he was the killer either. I thought he was like low key afraid that they would like come after him
Yeah.
because he had like moved away. So I was like, oh, maybe he was just like, I have to get out of there and like quit associating with anything. Um, but I also think it's weird that like, okay, so he was the original killer. And like I think they even like maybe mentioned that he continued to kill and like use other serial killers' MOs to get away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so was he like actively killing for a long time after he left? I
I
was a little
think he
confused.
was. He was like actively killing up until Olivia started like poisoning him because Jake hadn't gone home to see him. Like he said he had like forced him to come home. And so like when
Yeah,
Jake finally figured it out, he like it was only a year later that he died. So it's like
gotcha.
I mean he had,
So he had
9
been
years to
killing up like for a decade at least.
yeah, no, it was like actually wild. The character, all the characters played such an intricate part in the downfall of Delaney Grove, and I was very satisfied with the ending.
Yeah, me too. The ending felt like a really good payoff. Like, because obviously the buildup was for 5 novellas. And so, like, if it had been a letdown, that would have been
It would have sucked.
awful, but like, it wasn't at all.
And I'm almost glad that she did have five because it's like I did completely forget about Christopher Denver
Yeah.
until we got back to it. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I
Like
love
we've done
that.
so much in between now and then that I forgot he existed.
So much has happened. So we'll kind of talk about now things that we liked. I will start with one of my favorite scenes is when Logan and Leonard are in the car, and Leonard is like about to tell Logan his theory that Lana is the killer. And he literally Logan is actively driving. He like crawls into the back seat because he wants to be out of like hitting range. And I just thought that was like so funny. Like the humor in this book.
He like hits him in the face with his shoulder. He's like, excuse me.
Yeah,
Like
he's like, pardon me. And Logan's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, just making sure you can't punch me in the face. I think your girlfriend is a serial killer. And here's
Leonard
why.
was so cute.
I love Leonard. And then I do feel like I also like I need to
Yeah,
explain
you
myself
need
on
to
this one.
explain yourself on this
Okay.
one.
So because this is on the list of things we liked, so I want to preface this by saying I don't like the setup to this. But okay, so this scene where it follows when Leonard told Logan this, and so Logan is pissed and he's like, I need her to confess to me. And so he goes and he is like absolutely feral, just like hate fucks her and then leaves her naked and cuffed to the bed. Okay, what I like about this scene
Because I hated
that
that scene.
Lana is absolutely destroyed and cuffed to the bed. And she just like casually gets her lock picking kit out of her purse and like cuffs herself and just dejectedly goes to like Hadley's cabin and is like, Logan knows. Like, it's just like so funny to
Just
me.
like, damn it.
Yeah, like
Like,
it's
I
just
guess I'll
like
just unlock myself.
she's so defeated. And it's honestly like it's heartbreaking, don't get me wrong, but it's also just so
Just the
funny.
way she does it is so funny.
And I
No,
do also
I
want to say though, because we talked about this, and I don't like what the author has like said his motive was for doing that,
yes.
because they were like, oh, yeah. Like Logan was like, I only did that because I thought you were a psycho. And
Yeah, he was like, I thought you were experiencing like a mental break and you were psychotic and you were just like the unsub by proxy. And I'm like, well, that sounds even worse.
yeah, so
Like
I
you
really
just
don't like that
hate fucked a
explanation.
mentally unstable person. Like,
What makes more sense to me, like if we think about Logan as an actual human being and not a character in a book, what makes more sense to me is that he was so like angry, and like he never gets angry. Lana has like explained that he is always in such control and like he never shows his anger. And so for him to be like that upset, I think just led to very irrational behavior from him. And he's also like 5 seconds prior to Leonard telling him that he was infatuated with Lana and in love with her.
yeah,
So
he was
I
like,
think
she
like,
never asks me for anything, and like she just wants to spend time with me. And Leonard's like, hey, sorry to rain on your parade.
yeah, like I really just think it was an irrational like displacement of
My
his
favorite
anger.
part before that, he was like, wow, her eyes just look so cold. And I could tell that she was holding her emotions back. Like, I wonder what that's about. And Leonard's like, I know what that's about. Hey, bestie.
But I just felt like I needed to explain myself because that's why I liked that part of the book is like the humor throughout, and also like the I, I feel like it showed some like real human emotions there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like he destroyed the room afterwards. Like, that was
Mm-hmm.
cool. Glad
I
to
was like,
see
that was
that.
kind of hot
That
though.
was cute. Honestly, their whole mastermind plan for the town was just like, so good. 10 out of 10, chef's kiss. It was amazing.
It was. Yeah.
Uh,
Would you say that it was awesome?
it was awesome. In the words of St. Abby, it was awesome.
It was awesomely awesome. It was also super funny that she named her cat Bennett. And like whenever Logan did show up in their house and was just like holding the cat,
You
I just
named
thought
your cat
it was
Bennett.
funny.
You know
Yeah.
what it reminded me of, though? It reminded me of the Ravenhood series, The Finish Line, when she named her French bulldog
Dog.
after his dad.
Yes. Oh my God, that was so out of pocket.
I was just like, damn, I love that. Also,
Oh,
just the ending.
okay. So like earlier in the series, Lana asked Logan if he could go anywhere, where would it be? And he said Greece. And he was like, what about you? Teehee. And she was
Did
like,
20 questions.
I would go to Greece with you. And he was like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. And so whenever he was like trying to find her, because like I said, she was like finally ready to let him go, she disappeared. And he was like, well, you said if you could be anywhere, it would be in Greece with me. And I was like, oh.
Like, it's sickeningly sweet, and I hate you, but I love you both. I
And then
also,
he brings her a body to
yeah,
get.
I think so. First of all, what a great group effort they have going here. Leonard's like, hey, I've got you, man,
Yeah.
that you can have. And Lana's like, great, because if I don't murder someone, I'm gonna go crazy. And Logan's like, wow, all I want to do is keep my wife happy.
Mm-hmm. My stabby wife.
My stabby wife.
My stabby awesome wife.
Hate it. I
My
love it
wife.
though. There were a couple things. I had some bones to pick
Mm-hmm.
with parts of this book. I felt like it was just an absolute cop out that they made the only two gay characters like fall in love with each other. So
Yeah.
like I know they're both bisexual and whatever. Like that's really great for them. Like I love that. But it's like he was so madly in love with Marcus. And like I know Marcus was like, you need to move on and blah blah blah. But like, why Hadley? Because
I
then
think,
with like
yeah,
Hadley, it's like, we thought you were a lesbian. She's like, no, I didn't say that. And it's like, maybe you did say that. I don't know. But like
they sure seem to think so.
it
What
just seems
really,
weird to
I
me.
think, didn't make sense is like they slept together like twice. And then when Logan was like, I have to go find Lana, Hadley was like, yes, I will drop everything and come with you because I will be in love with Jake.
Not only that, it's like Jake was still pining after his dead boyfriend, right? And
Yeah.
then he's like, some girl with red hair is trying to break into her house. And Lana
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's just Hadley, like, don't hurt her. And then so like the next thing you know, like they just sleep together. Like what?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. And then Hadley, whenever I
She's
think
like, we're
like,
kindred spirits.
yeah, she was explaining it and she's like, he's just so smart and he's good with computers and so am I. I was like, girl, what?
And then on top of that, I feel like she kind of not necessarily gave like I think she fell into the bisexual stereotype here,
Yeah.
where they're just like absolute hoes. And
Mm-hmm.
I hate that
Yeah.
because at the end, it's like Lana and Logan are madly in love. They got married 2 months after he got to Greece. And so it's
Yeah.
like, it makes sense. Whatever. Good for
They're
them.
crazy, so it's fine.
Yeah, like it tracks. But they're like, it took them 2 more years. And it's like, yeah, like a normal person. But then it's like they have this understanding where twice a month, like every other week, one of them gets to choose another person to like have a threesome with. And they have to do that because they need to like satiate their desires or something like that. And like, I like if that's just what they do, sure. But it just like the fact that they're both bisexual and like that's how she wrote it, it just rubbed me the wrong way.
It rubs me the wrong way too because okay, so in
There's
this
such a
particular
stigma.
epilogue, yeah, for sure. It's like they had just had a threesome with a guy. And so that's who Jake picked. And it's like next turn was going to be Hadley's. And she was like, I want a girl. I was like, ew.
I know. It's like, I don't know.
I didn't like it at all because like yeah, it's one thing if like you're just into that. I'm not like trying to kink shame.
But like the
It's the
fact that
fact
they schedule it.
yeah, the fact that it's scheduled first of all. Second of all, the fact that they are the only two bisexual characters represented in the book and it's like yeah, they have scheduled bi-weekly. Wait, not bi-weekly.
Yeah,
Does
bi-weekly.
bi-weekly mean every other
Twice a
week?
month. Yeah.
Okay. Threesomes to finish that sentence.
Yeah, I just didn't like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
Everything else
and
was good though.
yeah, again, like a lot of things that we liked were to do with the humor and the plot, which I feel like is speaks more to like the writing talent than some of the things we disliked. It's just like, well, maybe if you like just had an editor, I think like that could have been cleaned up a little bit.
For
Um,
sure.
so ultimately, we liked it. And there's
Some
like some additional
symbolism.
symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of talk about some new ones that were only relevant to the last novel. So the haunted house, I really like.
I forgot to mention, yeah, the haunted house was one of my favorite scenes.
It was truly scary
It
because
was so
it played
bad.
into my fear of what if a murderer actually murders someone in a haunted house.
Because I feel like every book we read where there's a haunted house, there is truly legitimately a murderer in there. Like in Haunting Adeline,
Yeah.
with what's her Sibby.
Mm-hmm.
Like she
And
was actually
yeah.
murdering people.
So crazy. So yeah, like as far as symbolism goes, the haunted house in this town, it comes once a year and it represents the sins and depravity that are rampant throughout the town. And like mainly because of Kyle. Like Kyle's kind of the ringleader and he really contributes to that depravity by like harming women in there every single year. Because he's a piece of shit. But don't worry, he gets what's coming to him.
He got his
And
comeuppance.
yeah, she straight up murders people in the haunted house, and people think it's like part
And
of it.
people are like, wow,
Kind of
this is
scary.
like really good.
They're like eating popcorn. The other like symbol at the end was fire. Like the fire that they had spreading throughout the town, going like closing in on the what was it, the town hall that they were all
Yeah.
in. So the fire consuming the town symbolizes hellfire, that Lana is bringing down to punish the corrupt people who covered up the
Because
crimes
they
so
all think
long
she
ago.
has sold her soul to the devil
They do.
to
And
exact revenge.
it's honestly, it's just so fitting because the town is full of religious fanatics and they're all crazy and they think that like the devil has come, even though like literally it's just
A
someone
girl
who's
that you
been
wronged
horribly
so
wronged.
badly.
Amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, it was poetic justice.
Hmm.
So for discussion questions this week, we only have a couple because they're very similar to last week. But my first question is, do you think there are actual towns like Delaney Grove where they, kind of self-govern and are basically like the judge, jury, and executioner?
I think that there probably are, unfortunately, because
Yeah,
what first comes to mind, well, besides like a cult, because I feel like a
like
cult
one of
is
the
kind of,
sundowner towns or
yes, I was gonna say sundown towns. Like that comes to mind as like them taking matters into their own hands. And obviously it's fucked up because like their
right,
morals are so skewed, but that's what they believe is doing the right thing. And
right.
so like I think that there are probably some still to this day some very dangerous towns
That's
that
so
have that
wild.
mentality. Ugh,
It's gross.
it really is. Even if it's not the entire town, like even if it's a smaller town, if that's like prevalent, if that mentality is prevalent, I think it almost kind of like becomes that without officially becoming that, you know? Like
Right.
there's not necessarily a sheriff who like owns everything, but like that
There's someone
group of
running the
people,
show.
yeah, like that mindset that they all share kind of like
Hmm.
takes over in a similar way.
Wild. Ew, I hate that.
I know. It reminds me of that like creepy ghost town that we drove through in Colorado.
Oh my God. So one time,
We've
Caitlin,
told this story before.
have we?
I think we have. You know what? In case you guys haven't
No,
heard.
you're right. You're right. I think we have. Now, anyway, so one time we went on this big family vacation to Colorado and we were running out of gas, like desperately needed it. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, this small town in Colorado just like appears. And so we pull off, and it's the weirdest thing because there are literally no people in this town. Like there's no cars on the street, there's no people, nothing. And so like we're trying to find a gas station. There's like this little weird self-serve like gas station, and then across the street, there is like one singular man standing on his front porch, just staring at us.
Like watched us as we drove. Like, uh,
And we were so scared that we like hightailed it out of there. Like, we are not stopping here. But then on the way back, we tried to stop and see if the town was like a little more livelier, and like we couldn't find it anywhere.
it didn't exist
It felt
anymore.
like an alternate reality.
I think we like drove through some kind of
We
like,
drove through like a portal, like a
yeah.
wormhole.
Ugh. I'm still like creeped
Just
out,
thinking
but
about it, yeah, makes me so scared. Hope they're
I was
doing
terrified of
well.
that man. I didn't trust him.
Yeah, didn't wave or anything. Just watched us. The
He
only
mean
person
mugged
in this
us.
whole town. But
He's like,
anyway,
I don't much care for outsiders.
like, yeah, you and the rest of this town apparently. But
Well, that brings us to our next question, which is, do you think that corruption in the FBI in real life is as bad as it is in like books and TV shows and stuff?
yes and no. So yeah, probably yes. Because like I think of like the Maid series, for example. Like you have Christian Allister, that is like
Mhm.
like a rogue FBI agent who also is in La Bratva, but is also helping like the mafia. And it's like that's probably a real thing. Like they probably have fucking like narcs in the FBI for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, just like to the scale that it was on in this book, like that is so scary, that like to think that there are people who are just running towns like however they want to, and the FBI is like looking the other way.
Yeah. And like actively covering it up in this
Yeah.
story.
And like
I
partaking.
I feel yeah. I feel like there probably is corruption. I feel like I doubt it's on as large of a scale as it is in like fiction, just because I feel like it has to be like dramatized a
I
little bit.
don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't pretend to like actually know the answer, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was just as bad.
I feel like it could be. Like there's some terrible people out there.
Listen, if you work for the FBI, email us anonymously
If
at
you know
sisterboy.
something,
If you see something, say something.
and let me know because I need the tea.
I do need the tea. Listen, they're not going to believe us. Why would they believe us?
We're not
Just
going to share
tell
this
us.
like on the podcast. I just want to know.
Oh, I was going to share it on the podcast.
Caitlin will share your dirty laundry on the podcast.
Hey, it's for entertainment purposes, you
You're
know? Like
right.
otherwise, like why do I care to know? If I can't
We
tell
will
this,
give you a special made up name and possibly change the scenario a little bit if that sounds
yeah,
good.
you can give yourself a special made up name or no name at all.
Yeah. Or we can just write in as anonymous.
Hey, you're in the FBI. You know how to send like a burner email, don't you?
I would hope. If
Yeah.
not,
What are
do
you new
better.
here?
But seriously, please send that to us. Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyways, next week, so we're going to be doing some Dramini fanfics. And
I am so excited.
you don't even know. You don't even know how excited I am because this is something that we're very passionate about. We feel that Draco Malfoy was done dirty
He
in the Harry Potter
was
stories.
snubbed so
Yeah.
hard.
He could have had an amazing redemption arc. He could have made our girl Hermione very happy. I still don't buy if Hermione and Ron got married, they're certainly divorced by now.
They were bad
Yeah,
for each other. Ron
they're
was a
so
little
bad for each other.
baby back bitch,
And Hermione was
and
not.
she was such a smart, gorgeous goddess.
Yeah.
And you know what? Draco, he was also very smart.
Yeah, he just got like pulled into the wrong
It's just
shit,
like
but it was his
his family was
parents' fault.
terrible.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Go against your father when you're 12? No. You're
Because you
literally
know
going
who
to
else came from a bad family and eventually found his way? Sirius Black, his
ah,
uncle.
so true. And like countless other people in stories and in real life. Like
Cousin,
you can't
not his uncle.
control who you are born into. Like, what are you gonna do? He was literally a child. And by the time that he was old enough to like do his like make his own decisions, he clearly like was struggling with it.
Yeah. Like,
So
he didn't want to do
why
it.
why did we not redeem him? It's the
Yeah.
drug thing all over again.
It's because J.K. Rowling doesn't like good things.
Well, J.K. Rowling is a little bitch. And honestly,
True.
J.K. Rowling, hey, if you have a problem with it, you can email us at
Yeah,
thesisterswarden at
come.
gmail.com. You can send us some hate mail because guess what? Fuck you.
You can suck my dick.
Anyways, the week after that, we will be discussing I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And it is a gem. Um,
I actually have not read it yet. Caitlin has.
it's good. It's good. And I will be reading it again.
Amazing. But yeah, we're super, super excited. For the Hermione fanfics, I mean, we're only going to be sharing a couple. So if there's some that you are just like very passionate about, please send them to us
Please send them to us because even if we can't cover all of them, I
at the
just want to read
sisterswarden
them
at gmail.com.
at the sisterswarden at gmail.com. Or you can DM us on Instagram. Handle is the Sisters Warden. We just want to read them regardless of whether we get to talk about all of them. But yeah, we will talk to you guys next week. And as always,
Let's get lit.